Om Sri Sai Ram. My humble salutations to my beloved Bhagwan, respected elders and my dear students. Hearty welcome to Real Analysis class. Let us continue the model question paper. Today we are going to discuss about problems from 11b onwards. 11b question. Show that if f from closed interval ab to r is continuous on closed interval ab, then f is bounded. So what is given here? A function is given. The domain of the function is the closed interval ab and the codomain is set of real numbers, and further it is a continuous function on the closed interval ab, and we are asked to show that the function is going to be bounded. Now already we are having a Borel's theorem. So what the Borel's theorem says that if the function is continuous, so if you consider epsilon equal to 1, since it is continuous, the interval AB can be partitioned into a finite number of with the help of finite number of partition points. Say A is equal to T0, T1, T2, etc. Tn equal to B, such that modulus of f of x1 minus f of x2 is less than 1 for x1 and x2 belongs to an rth subinterval, that is Tr minus 1 to Tr. That means the given interval AB can be partitioned into finite number of subintervals with the partition points A equal to T0, T1, T2, etc. Tn equal to B. So what is the first interval, subinterval? The subinterval from T0 to T1. What is the second subinterval? The closed subinterval T1 to T2. Similarly, what is the third subinterval? The closed interval T2 to T3. In general, rth subinterval is given by Tr minus 1 to Tr, and the last nth subinterval is given by Tn minus 1, Tn. So, if you consider any 2 points x1, x2 in an rth subinterval Tr minus 1 to Tr, then definitely the values of the functions at x1 and x2 will be less than 1. That is, f of x1 minus f of x2 will be less than 1. Let x belongs to closed interval ab and t1, t2, etc. Tr be the points lying between a and x. So we have taken a general point x in between a and b, and prior to x, let us say that the points, the partition points are T1, T2, etc. Tr between a and the general point x. So what I am going to do, I am going to take the difference between the values of the function at x and the value of the function at a. That means the numerical difference between f of x and f of a equal to. So in this difference, what I am going to do, subtract minus f of tr and add f of tr, subtract f of tr minus 1 and f of tr plus f of tr minus 1, and so on, minus f of t1 plus f of t1, and finally minus f at a. So consider 2 points difference as shown in the here. Okay, f of x minus f of tr minus f of tr minus 1, and so on. The last difference will be f at t1 minus f at a. Now modulus, by the modulus property, this value is less than or equal to f of x minus f of tr plus f of tr minus f of tr minus 1 plus so on f of t1 minus f of a. And by the Borel's theorem, the difference of values of the function between any 2 points in the subinterval will be less than 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus and so on 1. So like this we get r plus 1 terms. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 so on, that becomes, adding all these r plus 1 times, it becomes r plus 1. So what is happening? The difference between f of x and f of a is smaller than r plus 1. Now what is x? X is a general point in between a and b. So if I consider x to be the upper end almost, then we can have the points between a and x will not be more than n minus 1 points of the partitions between a and x. Therefore, for any x belongs to closed interval ab, mod f of x minus f of a is less than, so r can be n minus 1. So replace r to be n minus 1 plus 1. Therefore, minus 1 plus 1 gets cancelled each other. We get the value equal to n. That means the difference between f of x and f of a is smaller than n. That implies f of x lies between minus n, lies between f of a minus n and f of a plus n. So all the values of f of x is lying between f of a minus n and f of a plus n. Therefore, the function f is bounded on closed interval ab. I hope that is clear. Okay, now let us go to next one, that is 12a. Using Lagrange's theorem, show that x is greater than log 1 plus x, which is greater than x by 1 plus x if f of x is equal to log of 1 plus x for all x greater than 0. So we are asked to prove this statement using Lagrange's theorem. So before starting the solution of this methodology, let us see what is meant by Lagrange's mean value theorem. So what is Lagrange's mean value theorem? That is, if f is a mapping from closed interval ab to r is a function such that, number 1, f is continuous on the closed interval ab, number 2, f is derivable on open interval ab, then there exists a point c between a, b such that f at b minus f at a divided by b minus a equal to f dash at c, or f of b minus f of a equal to f dash at c into b minus a. So what is the meaning of that? F is given to be a function. What is the domain here? Closed interval ab. What is the codomain? Set of real numbers. How is the function? It is continuous on closed interval ab. Number 2, it is derivable on open interval ab. What the Lagrange's mean value assures us that there exists clearly a point C in the open interval ab such that difference of values of the function at b and a, f at b minus f at a divided by b minus a, is equal to f dash at c. That is, the slope of the tangent at c will be same as the slope of the chord joining the points a and b, joining the points at a and b. So what is the slope joining these 2 points? F of b minus f of a divided by b minus a, that is equal to f dash at c, or we can also write that f at b minus f at a equal to f dash at c into b minus a. So using this we are going to prove. Now for this, first of all, consider the function. What is a given function? You consider that as log of 1 plus x. Because x is positive number, I am going to take a small interval, that is from closed interval 0 comma t, where t is greater than 0. Now f is continuous on the closed interval 0 comma t, and because log function we know that it is continuous on closed interval 0 comma t, and it is also derivable on open interval 0 comma t. And everybody knows that what is the derivative of the function f dash at x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus x for all x belongs to the open interval 0 comma t. Therefore, by Lagrange's theorem, definitely there exists c belongs to open interval 0 t such that f at t minus f at 0 divided by t minus 0 equal to f prime at c. So now what is f at t? Log of 1 plus t minus f at 0 log of 1 plus 0, that is log 1 divided by t minus 0, that is equal to what is f prime at c? F prime at x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus x. So f prime at c becomes 1 upon 1 plus c. So this is true for all c lying in the open interval 0 comma t. So where is c? It lies between 0 and t. So log 1 is 0. So this becomes that is log 1 plus t upon t equal to 1 by 1 plus c for all c lying between 0 and a. Now what is going to happen? C value is lying between 0 and t. Therefore, clearly 1 plus c will be 1 plus c value lies between 1 and 1 plus t. Therefore, reciprocal of that is 1 upon 1 plus 0 will be greater than 1 upon 1 plus c, that will be greater than 1 upon 1 plus t. Call that as inequality 2. 1 upon 1 plus 0 is nothing but 1. So 1 is greater than, what is 1 by 1 plus c? Already we have seen 1 by 1 plus c is nothing but log 1 plus t by 1. So we have log 1 plus t by t is greater than 1 upon 1 plus t for all t greater than 0. Therefore, multiplying with t throughout, we get t is greater than log 1 plus t, which is greater than t by 1 plus t. Okay, it's for all t greater than 0. So let us go to the next one. State and prove Cauchy's mean value theorem. So Cauchy's mean value theorem statement. F and g are functions from closed interval AB. How are they? They are in such a manner that, number 1, f and g are continuous on closed interval AB. F and g are derivable on open interval AB. Number 3, derivative of g dash x exists for all x not equal to 0, where x belongs to open interval AB. Then definitely there exists a point C belongs to open interval AB such that f at b minus f at a divided by g at b minus g at a equal to f prime at c divided by g prime at c. So what is happening here? F and g are two continuous functions, and number 2, f and g are derivable on the open interval AB, and further g dash x is not 0 for all x belongs to AB. So these are the three conditions that fulfill this. Then definitely the theorem assures us that there exists a point C in open interval AB such that f at b minus f at a divided by g at b minus g at a equal to f prime at c divided by g prime at c. Now in order to prove this, now define the function phi from closed interval AB to R such that phi at x equal to f of x plus k for f of x plus k times g of x. So in order to prove this, I am going to define a new function, an arbitrary function phi. What is the domain? Closed interval A. To this, to capital R. How we are defining? Phi of x equal to f at x plus constant times g at x. So we are including both the functions f and g, not directly. F of x is added with k times of the second function g of x, where k is a real number. And automatically, with a particular condition, not only we are defining, we are also assuming a particular condition that phi at a equal to phi at b. Now phi at a equal to phi at b implies, what is the meaning? What is f of x? Phi of x? F of x plus k times g of x. So what is phi at a? F at a plus k times g at a. Now what is phi at b? F at b plus k times g at b. So when you take k common, k times g of a minus g of b equal to f of b minus f of a. Call this inequality as inequality 1. If possible, assume that g of b minus g of a equal to 0. Then automatically what is going to happen? G at b becomes equal to g at a. Then g satisfies all the conditions of Rolle's theorem. Therefore, definitely there exists, because already it is given that g is continuous on closed interval AB, g is derivable on open interval AB, and further the second function g is also satisfying the third conditions of Rolle theorem. What is that? That is, the value of the function g at the end points is the same. That means g at a equal to g at b. Then by Rolle's theorem, definitely there exists a point alpha belongs to open interval AB such that g dash at alpha equal to 0. But by the condition that g dash x is not equal to 0 for all x belongs to open interval AB. So in this way we say that g at A is not equal to g at B. We have assumed, if possible we have assumed that. So g at B minus g at A is not equal to 0. Hence the equation number 1 can be rewritten as k equal to minus of f at B minus f at A divided by g at B minus g at A. So why we have taken this condition? Because the denominator should not be 0. Okay. So if it becomes 0, then g at A becomes g at B, then we arrive at a contradiction. Hence k equal to minus f at B minus f at A divided by g at B minus g at A. That is called this k value as equation number 2. Now definitely there exists C belongs to open interval AB such that phi dash at C equal to 0. Since phi is derivable on open interval AB and C belongs to AB, phi dash at C equal to f dash at C plus k times g dash at C, and because phi dash at C is 0, we have f at dash at C plus k times g prime at C equal to 0. That implies k equal to minus of f prime at C divided by g prime at C, and g prime at C is not equal to 0. Call this inequality as 3. So from equations 2 and 3 we have f at B minus f at A divided by g at B minus g at A equal to f prime at C divided by g prime at C. Another form of Cauchy's mean value theorem. If f from closed interval A to A plus h to capital R and g is a mapping from A comma A plus h to capital R are such that f comma g are continuous on closed interval AB and f and g are derivable on open interval A comma A plus h. And number 3, g prime at x is not equal to 0 for all x belongs to the open interval A comma A plus h, then definitely there exists a theta lying between 0 and 1 such that f at A plus h minus f at A divided by g at A plus h minus g at A equal to f prime at A plus theta h divided by g prime at A plus theta h. So this is another way of defining Cauchy's mean value theorem. Now question number 13a. State and prove the necessary and sufficient condition for Riemann integrability. So Riemann integrability. A bounded function f from closed interval AB to R is a Riemann integrable on AB if and only if for each epsilon greater than 0 there exists a partition P of closed interval AB such that 0 is less than or equal to UPF minus LPF, which is less than epsilon. So what is happening here is that now f is a bound function. How is it? It is a bounded function. What is the domain? Closed interval AB. What is the codomain? Set of real numbers. This function, bounded function, is going to be Riemann integrable on closed interval AB if and only if for each epsilon greater than 0 definitely there exists a partition P of closed interval AB such that UPF minus LPF will be always less than epsilon. That is, the oscillatory sum is less than epsilon. Necessary part. Let f be Riemann integrable on closed interval AB. Then by the definition of Riemann integrability, what is happening? Lower Riemann integrable, integral bar a to b f of x dx equal to integral a to b bar f of x dx. That is equal to integral a to b f of x dx. Call that as equation number 1. Now we are going to prove that the oscillatory sum is less than epsilon. So consider epsilon greater than 0. Now what is going to happen? By Darboux theorem, definitely there exists delta greater than 0 such that UPF will be less than upper integral plus epsilon by 2. Call this as inequality as 2, and the lower Darboux sum LPF will be greater than lower integral minus epsilon by 2. This comes by Darboux theorem. So always the upper Darboux sum will be smaller than upper integral plus epsilon by 2, and lower Darboux sum will be greater than lower Riemann integrable minus epsilon by 2. This is true for all partition P belongs to family of partitions AB such that norm P will be less than delta. Now from 1 and 2, what is going to happen? We see that UPF is smaller than upper integral plus epsilon by 2, and because this upper integral is same as integral, so we can replace UPF is smaller than integral of the function plus epsilon by 2. Now again from 1 and 3, we see that LPF is minus epsilon by 2. If you take this side, this becomes LPF plus epsilon by 2 will be greater than lower integral. But lower integral is also same as integral. So integral a to b f of x dx will be smaller than LPF plus epsilon by 2. This is another inequality. So UPF is smaller than integral plus epsilon by 2, and integral is smaller than LPF plus epsilon by 2. Now we have UPF is smaller than integral. What is the integral? Integral value. This integral value is smaller than LPF. So this is less than LPF plus epsilon by 2 plus epsilon by 2. So UPF minus LPF will be less than epsilon. That is, the oscillatory sum is always non-negative. Therefore, the oscillatory sum lies between 0 and epsilon. Now sufficient part. For each epsilon greater than 0, there exists a partition P of closed interval AB such that the oscillatory sum, that is UPF minus LPF, will lie between 0 and epsilon. Now, by the upper integral definition, integral a to b bar f of x dx is equal to infimum of UPF such that P belongs to phi of AB, and upper integral f of x dx will be automatically less than or equal to UPF. Similarly, by the lower Riemann integral definition, integral bar a to b f of x dx is equal to supremum of LPF such that P belongs to phi of AB. That is, lower integral will be greater than or equal to LPF. That implies we have taking minus sign for this inequality. Minus lower integral f of x dx is less than or equal to minus LPF. Therefore, integral a to b bar f of x dx minus integral bar a to b f of x dx is smaller than UPF minus LPF, which in turn is less than epsilon. So the difference of upper and lower integrals is always non-negative. Further, the difference of upper integral and lower integral is smaller than epsilon. That means since epsilon is arbitrary, automatically these two numbers are equal. Therefore, integral a to b bar f of x dx is equal to integral bar a to b f of x dx. So f is Riemann integrable on AB. That implies for each epsilon greater than 0, there exists P belongs to phi of AB such that the oscillatory sum is lies between 0 and epsilon. That is about necessary and sufficient conditions for Riemann integrability. Now we have proved that integral pi cube by 24 is less than or equal to integral 0 to pi x square by pi plus 3 cos x dx less than or equal to pi cube by 6. Take g of x is equal to x square and f of x is equal to 1 by 5 plus 3 cos x. Now g of x and f of x are continuous and closed interval 0 comma pi. Therefore g comma f are also integrable on closed interval 0 comma pi. Now g keeps the same sign on closed interval 0 comma pi because it is a continuous function x square. Further, it is positive throughout. So g keeps the same sign on closed interval 0 comma pi. For all x belongs to closed interval 0 pi, we have the cos x value lies between minus 1 and 1. So what I am going to do, multiply this inequality by 3. That means minus 3 will be less than or equal to 3 times cos x less than or equal to 3. Now add 5 to that. So 5 minus 3, that becomes 2. 2 less than or equal to 5 plus 3 cos x, that is less than or equal to 3 plus 5, that is 8. So take the reciprocals. 1 by 8 will be less than or equal to 1 by 5 plus 3 cos x, that is less than or equal to 1 by 2. Now clearly, now we have the infimum of the function is 1 by 8 small m, and the supremum of this particular function capital M becomes 1 by to, for the function f of x is equal to 1 by pi plus 3 cos x in the closed interval 0 comma pi. Now by first mean value theorem we have small m times integral 0 to pi g of x dx is less than or equal to integral 0 to pi f of x into g of x dx, that is less than or equal to capital M times integral 0 to pi g of x dx. That implies 1 by 8 is times integral 0 to pi x square dx, that is less than or equal to integral 0 to pi x square by 5 plus 3 cos x dx, that is less than or equal to 1 by 2 times integral 0 to pi x square dx. Now what is integral x square? X cube by 3. Taking limits, it becomes 1 by 8 times pi cube by 3, that is less than or equal to integral 0 to pi x square by 5 plus 3 cos x dx, that is less than or equal to 1 by 2 times pi cube by 3. So this becomes, that gives the required answer, that is pi cube by 24 is less than or equal to integral 0 to pi x square divided by pi plus 3 cos x dx, that is less than or equal to pi cube by 6. Now first mean value theorem. What is the statement? If f and g are Riemann integrable on closed interval ab, g keeps the same sign on closed interval ab, then there exists a mu belongs to or lying between the infimum and supremum of the function f such that integral a to b f of x g of x dx is equal to mu times integral a to b g of x dx. Here we take g of x to be equal to 1 for all x, then in which condition g is integrable, and for the g of x is equal to 0 for all x belongs to closed interval a comma b. By mean value theorem we have integral a to b f of x dx equal to mu times integral 0 to b integral a to b 1 dx, that is nothing but mu times b minus a, where mu belongs to the closed interval small m and capital M, where a small m and capital M being the infimum and supremum of the function f on closed interval a comma b. If f and g belongs to Riemann integrable ab and g keeps the non-negative sign on closed interval ab, then small m times integral a to b g of x dx, that is less than or equal to integral a to b f of x into g of x dx, that is less than or equal to capital M times integral a to b g of x dx, where small m and capital M are the infimum and supremum of f on closed interval ab. So this is the with respect to last. So finally, thank you.